So then I can see that you have worked in different areas, and it seems like you transition fast to be a CFO, you transition fast to be in the internal audit department, you worked in the global space, you came to the African space. Maybe with that wisdom, what can you really take out and say if you were advising a young professional who wants to be around about or wants to be excellent? What have you learned on those experience?
All right. So you talked about this business that you talked, and you said there was a lot of things that you've learned. I think one of the things that you learned must be resilience, because you haven't given up.
Definitely.
Because if we're thinking about it, you started this in 2020
yes.
or 2019. So it's 3, 4, 5 years now. Okay. So the first word is resilience. Studying, being a father, working, and all the responsibilities that you have, I think the most thing that you learn about yourself is our resilience.
And I think more than anything that we learn, yes, the skill and the technical know-how, it's the fact that you are disciplined enough to start something and finalize and finish it.
Yes.
Because finishing is not something that we learn by just saying. You learn by doing.
Yes.
And I just want to tell you that me starting this 130 business every day, even when I'm sitting, I'm like, should I close? Should I not? So these questions, so thank you for inspiring me. It's not time to give up. It's not time to give up.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Mr. Kada, for joining us yet to another episode of Numbers Don't Lie. We are excited to have you. I know that we're having you for the very second time, but we understand. Thank you for allowing us to have you on the podcast. I'm very excited. So today, what can we expect? Maybe just a brief about yourself.
Okay. All right. Just to tell you a bit about myself, I'll start talking about something that you don't know. My name is Kadammanja.
Okay. Yeah.
And what it means is that the name means somebody who gets dirty. So who gets their hands dirty? If you were to do a literal translation into English, yes. And it means something else if you think about it in gangster movies. The guys who go and do the dirty working for the boss. But it comes from a time when my grandfather used to go to the garden a lot. And when he came back, his hands would always be dirty.
Okay.
And people would ask him to say, why do you always come with your hands dirty? So he used to say that, no, I don't use implements. I feel the ground with my hands whenever I'm planting crops or I'm weeding crops. So they gave him that name.
Okay.
And then, so it's been passed from generation to generation. Education-wise, I'm an accountant by profession. I'm a member of SCCA. Recently completed a master's degree at Northwest University, focusing on corporate governance in the public sector. I've got a family. I'm married to my wife, Lucy. I've got 3 kids. The boy is 15. His name is Roderick, named after my dad. And I've got twin girls, Emerald and Ruby.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's part. But currently, I'm working for ACC as a licensing officer. This role is sort of the first. It's a break. Because ACC didn't have an audit license in South Africa.
Yes.
So we're setting the trail, or what we say, putting the groundwork together. Instruments, documents, application forms. So it's an exciting time as well to just learn about how audit is regulated as well. So that's a brief about myself.
Thank you so much. And it's a very fundamental name in terms of getting yourself dirty. I can imagine even now you are on the licensing part. This is new. You have to really dig into it.
Yes.
So that was very, what can I say, prophetic in a way. Oh, it's a prophetic name. I guess there's power in names, right?
Yeah, there is.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So then maybe you can tell us about your early life. How did you become an accountant? Was it a choice? Was it maybe you had someone in the family that was in the accounting space?
I could say that if I look at my immediate family, I'm the only person who's an accountant.
Okay.
So to give you just a bit of his background is that, when you're young, you want to be a fireman, a policeman, all those things. And then you get to what we used to call secondary school, which they call high school these days. Yeah. So I was fascinated by history and geography. That was my fascination, because those were the only two subjects, and we also did a bit of Bible knowledge as well. Those were the two subjects that can transport you from the classroom. The way the teacher was teaching them could transport you out of the classroom to somewhere else.
Okay.
And I started to say, okay, you know what do I do with these subjects? But then you're thinking, okay, geography is geology, so you can be a geologist or something like that. But then my father wanted me to be a medical doctor.
Okay.
Yeah. So when we were growing up, one of his best friends is a medical doctor, very famous as well. So he always said, you know what? He always pushed me towards to say, do medicine. So my subject choices, even in high school, were based on that I was going to do medicine. Then before I wrote my school leaving exams, I met a lady. She was one of the, if you go back I'm talking about 90s.
Okay.
There were very few women chartered accountant, and she was a chartered accountant. She's just retired recently. So she came, so her daughter and my sister were friends. So she came to pick up the daughter, and she was asking me, what do you want to do? And I was saying, I'm not sure now. My dad wants me to do medicine. So, but my second choice is economics, because my dad is also an economist as well. And then I'll see my third choice. I don't know what I'll do. I was thinking computer science at that time. And then she said, have you thought about accounting? I said, no. So what do accountants do? So then she started telling me, this is what accountants do. We are the one who are in charge of finances in the business. We report on that on the finances of the business. She said it's the best way to understand a business.
Yeah.
That's what she said. So I started getting fascinated, and I started researching about accounting and started to talk to people who are in accounting. Because to me, I had worked what they would call VAC work.
Okay.
And I'd worked in the finance department, and they were not the most interesting people that I had met. The interesting people were either working in sales, engineering, the ones that would always be, accounting people were very quiet in the office doing their work. So it was not something that I thought, but I said, you know what, let me put it as a choice. And as it was then, I found myself doing a Bachelor of Accountancy and then loving it as well.
Okay.
Yeah, in terms of what it brought you. But first year, second year, you're still thinking, I could have done something else. I think I started getting it in third year.
Okay.
That's when I started getting what accounting is about, to be honest with you. Especially management accounting was very alien to me.
I know. Yeah. I struggled with management accounting.
Yeah.
All right. So that's how you got yourself. And then maybe early life in terms of where did you go and work?
Okay. All right, yeah. So when I finished my bachelor's degree, I went to the UK to do my SCCA. I had worked VAC work. I hadn't done much work. But my dad was very insistent. He said, you know what, when you start working and that time accountants were in demand. So if you start working, you're not going to finish this. So I've got a few resources.
Okay.
Let me send you to the UK to go and study. And that time, all African currencies going to the UK was not. I mean, the rand and the pound and whatever, it was 1 to 1, 1 to 5. So it was like they were spending in currency, So it was not something that your parent would think about, because they'll be paying a bit of premium.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he said, no, let me invest in your education, because I'm a firstborn son and I've got two sisters.
All right.
So my dad always knew that my sisters always looked up to what I did. So he felt, you know what, if I invest in him, I think the sisters will also now push push themselves education-wise. Yeah. So I went to the UK, studied in the UK, very good cultural learning experience.
Okay.
Met a lot of people. I've got a lot of friends now that I met then that are still friends. Yeah, some were even Chinese, because that was also the time a lot of Chinese were. SCCA was not being taught as much in China.
Okay.
So we had a lot of guys who are Chinese in our classes. Some have kept in touch with them till today as well. So it was also a learning to be in a different different, to see different cultures. So the learning was not just in class. It was also learning about different people
cultures.
and different cultures. Yes, yeah. And then I left. Then I came back, Africa. Worked for KPMG.
Okay.
As an audit trainee. Didn't like external audit. Worked for a financial services company. It's called Nico Holdings. It's got also in 5 countries as well.
Okay.
Good experience in internal audit. I think what made me, it's this thing of when you are an external auditor, then the client sees you and says, you can join us. So they were creating an internal audit unit.
Okay.
And then the head of them, his name is Dan Jere, he's just become a CFO of one of the big banks now.
Okay.
In Malawi. So he called me and said, Kada, you've been auditing us and I've seen what you do. I think you should join. So we started an internal audit function from scratch. It was an outsourced internal audit function. We started it from scratch.
Okay. While working for the firm, or you were
while I was working for the firm, he invited me to say, we're starting an internal audit function. So join us with internal audit function. And then I fell in love with internal audit. My next job was also an internal audit manager. I was working for an organization called Action Aid.
Okay.
It's a big non-profit. There I also learned a lot as well, because I had the one who was looking after our cluster, he was from Nigeria. His name was Lanley.
Okay.
He believed in exposing others because he said, I'm not in this job permanently. He was what we call an international auditor.
Okay.
We were like country auditors, but he would rotate us, give us cross assignments, send us to other countries to do work as well. And he said, I'm not here forever, so I need you to know what I do. And that was a good working experience. Then I joined government. I left Action Aid, joined government as a CFO. I also learned a lot about how government works. So I think globally, we don't give credit to people who work in government. But those 3 years I spent as a CFO in government, I learned a lot. I mean, I was working in a small country where government is not as big as South Africa. But I learned that there's excellence in public sector. And we were also part of that excellence because we turned around it was a regulator in the construction industry, and we turned it around as well. Because when I joined, we were getting half salaries. And you can imagine when I was joining, I just had a child. Yes. And I'm telling my wife, I'm going to a place where we're going to be getting half salaries. You can imagine what she thought. This guy must be crazy. And I was very young at that time as well. I was in my 20s.
Okay.
Yeah. I was very young at that time. But I also learned a lot of lessons there, reporting to the board. In internal audit, yes, I was reporting to the board. But there I learned how to manage a board. Okay. How to report to a board. And also how to turn around an organization as well. And in an organization that is a state entity. And then after that job, I sort of, what should I say? Life happened. Yeah. Okay. Politics happened. But I think that was the moment when they say that your life pivots around. My life pivoted around. Okay. So I was unemployed. One day somebody calls me and says, we've got a school of accounting. Can you come and teach the students tax? I don't like tax. I've never liked tax. So I go and teach, and the students say, no. We like him. Because it was just one class. They say, we like him. He should come again. And then they say, but your lecturer has to come back. So now they gave me a different class. Okay. That somebody was so busy that he wasn't taking the class. I took the students. Then I discovered that, you know what, I'm blessed. I've got something that I can give to the world, which is teaching. And I never got tired when I was in class with teaching. And that's how my life sort of moved. It's to be honest with you, education is a gift. Being an educator is a gift. Yeah. Yes, I started to understand our teachers, our lecturers. Those people are not the most highly paid people. But they also because it's a gift that they're given, and it's also a passion as well. It's a passion. Yes.
So then I can see that you have worked in different areas, and it seems like you transition fast to be a CFO, you transition fast to be in the internal audit department, you worked in the global space, you came to the African space. Maybe with that wisdom, well, what can you really take out and say if you were advising a young professional who wants to be a roundabout or wants to be excellent? What have you learned on those experiences?
I think the first thing that I would tell somebody is that work is about people.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. When I joined the government, we had a CEO who did something, they call it management by walkabout. It's a concept. So it's where the top leaders in the organization go to where the people are. So if you're working in a factory, you see the factory manager doesn't sit in his office.
Okay.
He comes and sees where the work is being done.
Okay.
So he said, and what he used to do is that he used to do every Monday, he used to check on everybody. How are you? How are you? How are you? And he would just greet. And asked him, why do you do that? He said, no, you have to check on people on Monday. And you really have to check on them, not just say hi, how are you doing?
Okay.
But you must also say, how are you feeling? Yes. Because if you say somebody, how are you doing? I say, I'm fine. When you say, how are you feeling? They'll say, I'm not feeling well. Okay? Because feeling and doing are two different things. Yes. So he's used to do that. And he would come to your office and he would sit in a chair and he would ask you, how are the kids? How are you? To some, it might seem like intrusive, but to me, I felt this man cares. Because he said, you know what? My job is to make sure that all of my team are functioning optimally. And if they are not, then it's my job to help them to function optimally. So that's the first thing. So it's about people. And one of the things he said is that, have you noticed that you're also working, isn't it? Okay. Tomorrow, go and notice people who greet you first or people who ask you about work first. That will tell you the culture of the organization.
So it's about the culture.
Yes. You haven't seen a person since Friday. Can't you just say good morning, even on Teams or something? Can't you just say good morning? And in Africa, the culture, the art of greeting is very important. Can't you just say good morning to somebody? Instead of just asking, where are you with that file? Yes. How far are you with that thing? Yes. So myself, what I do, if somebody doesn't greet me, especially I see on Teams, somebody will just write you, hey, where are we on this one? I say, good morning, how are you? Hope you had a nice weekend. Then you see the person responds. Because now they've realized that, okay, this person, I didn't greet.
Because we are people first.
Yes.
You know, sometimes because of work, we forget that people element.
Yes.
Then we just want to, it's all about work. But at the end of the day, it's about the person.
Yes.
We actually even work for the sake of being people.
People, yes. I mean, you are a mother.
Yeah.
Your child is still young. You might have spent the night with fever, took them to the hospital. You came home at 3:00. If I don't ask you how I am, I'll just see your eyes red and I'll think, maybe she was studying.
Yes.
Oh, she's an entrepreneur. She was hustling. Yes, but I don't know. Yes, because I never asked.
And that's Ubuntu, and that us losing that Ubuntu element gets us to have all sorts of sicknesses that get introduced.
Yes, yeah. And then the second thing that I would tell young people is to go and work in an environment that is not the environment that they are comfortable with. Okay? Go and work in another country. Even if you don't, work with a team from another country as well. And be the only. Like now, I work with a team that is in the UK.
Okay.
Somebody is in Ireland. In the UK, anyway, they say somebody who's in England and Scotland, they are different places. So it's England, Scotland, Ireland, although they are part of the United Kingdom. When you meet, we meet every 2 weeks. When you meet, when they tell you about their lives, you get to know how people live differently as well. Plus also, you know how to start working with them as well. Okay. So for example, they're getting into winter. We're getting into summer.
Okay.
They're getting short days. We're getting longer days. We're getting short nights, they're getting longer. You see?
Yeah.
So with that, you have to sometimes be sensitive to certain things when they tell you certain things, yes. So if somebody says, I'm starting work late, it's because maybe it's winter, and winters they are very bleak and everything. So the person wants to wake up, and feel that, So small things like that you tend to start to learn to them as well.
Yeah.
You also start to learn their values as well and how they work and all that. So I would advise anybody who's younger to experience a global team.
Okay.
Yeah, to go and experience the culture itself changes the way you think, the way you see things, and the way you also, it changes your brain as well. Science has also shown that if you go to a different country, it also rewires your brain. You become more empathetic as well.
Yes.
Yes, you become more empathetic. So I think about a month ago, we attended it's a book club.
Okay.
And there's the author Nyimpini was talking about when he went to Uganda. He's a South African.
Yeah.
He was talking about when he went to Uganda. He said the Uganda experience changed me as a CEO because I was able now to empathize, to say sometimes we sit in our ivory towers and we tell people to do certain things, but the challenges on the ground are more than we know.
Are not what you know.
Yes, yeah. He said, in Uganda, he learned one thing. So he had a Land Rover that he was using. And at first he thought, why do I need a Land Rover? And they told him that the places so he was working for a company that sells beer. So he said, if you go and see our distributors outside the city, you need a Land Rover. Yes. He said he learned how to attend funerals of people who are, let's say, government officials you work with. Yeah, he said you show up to a funeral of somebody's, and you sit with everybody there. He said, I learned all those things. Go and watch a football match. Your staff team is playing a football match. So all those things are things that when he was here in South Africa and he worked in the UK, he was not able to relate to them.
Yeah.
Now he went in a different environment and he saw how you could relate to those things. Yeah.
So on that, it's really saying leadership is about connecting to the people, understanding what the people go through, and having that connection, because sometimes we lead from here while we're supposed to come down and understand our people, and to take that accountability and responsibility towards yourself so that you can lead the people with understanding. And sometimes we miss that one.
Yeah, we do.
Okay, so I see that you recently graduated, like you said in your introduction.
Yes, yeah.
So I was interested in that one. Is it the teacher in you that said, well, let's go back to school? Or what really motivated that need for knowledge?
I think, let me say COVID, first of all.
COVID came with good things, right?
It disrupted a lot of things. And work was not, I think a lot of us were trying to get, how do we work online? So if you were not careful with COVID, you could have found yourself, you had a lot of time on your hands. And there was nowhere to go sometimes when there were these lockdowns. So I thought to myself, okay, there's an opportunity. There's a master's here for ACCA members. All you have to do is to do a dissertation, a research module and a dissertation. And then I said to myself, why not do it? Okay. That was the first reason. It was just COVID. Okay. The second reason is that I felt, Kada, you are working at ACCA. Yes, you're supporting students, but you're mostly mentoring and just giving them techniques. So why don't you challenge yourself to something else? So I think that was the second reason. Then the third reason is that my wife also started studying.
Okay.
She was doing her MBA. And I said, it would be a good example for the kids also to see that we have not stopped learning. Okay. Yeah. So those were the three motivations. But I can't lie to you that I did the master's because I had the job lined up or there was something up. There were just human reasons for doing it. Yeah, there were just human reasons for doing
and
it.
And as much as it's COVID, but is that need for challenging yourself, like
Yes.
self-actualizing, because you can always say, I'm fine, I'm done. Like a lot of people ask me, why do you keep on studying? But it's really just self-actualizing, because there's still more in you. And there can still be more that you can add with that form of education that you get. So you are just making sure that your toolbox is increased. You keep on increasing your capacity. On that note, maybe let's just go to the markets, because I know that during COVID, I also started something.
Okay, all right.
So I started One Sati Beauty.
All right, okay.
So it was during COVID. I was also thinking, what else can I do? And then my empowerment side of life said, you can actually start a business that can empower others. So the main business was for me, because I've seen that there is companies that have products and they give to distributors to go sell. So I was like, this can be a vehicle that other people can then buy and go sell, start their own business. So this is One Sati Brands, where we actually produce personal care products so that other people can become business owners.
All right.
We are still reinventing ourselves. We're not there yet, but the journey has been exciting. So we have nice products here, your diffusers for smelling good at your home. We have your body products, bath products, fragrances inspired by the well-designed products. So that's what COVID brought me. And it was a journey of learning. I don't know anything about fragrances, personal care. I was like, what? Am I really crazy? So definitely one of my babies that I remain very committed to, because it's more of my passion and an empowerment project.
All right.
But coming back to yourselves in terms of what you've learned in your masters, maybe let's dig a bit there. What came up during your masters? What have the masters made you aware or learn, or a tool that you can use from that experience?
All right. So you talked about this business that you talked, and you said there was a lot of things that you have learned. I think one of the things that you learned must be resilience, because you haven't given up.
Definitely.
Because if we're thinking about it, you started this in 2020 or 2019. So it's 3, 4, 5 years now. Okay. So the first word is resilience. Studying, being a father, working, and all the responsibilities that you have. I think the most thing that you learn about yourself is our resilience. And I'm not going to sugarcoat the resilience. There are times when I wanted to give up.
Definitely.
There were times when you would wake up and not want to do it. There were times when you would say, so one of the things that usually these professors do is that they send you comments on your dissertation on a Friday, which means that your weekend, your brain is working. If you don't do it on Friday night, Saturday night, when you get the email, and you usually get it on a Friday morning, that means your brain is still working. Let me see what they say. Then you go and see, then you start, there's a lot of work that I need to do here. Okay? Because academic writing is different. It's something that you need to develop your brain to be able to write in that way. But also the second thing that you do is you read a lot. Okay? So you read a lot. Anybody who's done by research will tell you that I read a lot. I read a lot. They will tell you I read so many things that have been written on the topic or outside that topic a lot as well. Okay, yeah, but there is moments of depression. There's moments of I want to give up. There's moments where you get comments and you abandon the paper for 2 weeks and you don't touch it. It's not easy. The time, yes, it's difficult to juggle the time, but I think it's how to motivate yourself. Because these are studies that a research student is alone with their supervisors. So one of the things that I learned was to create a community. So I reached out to a community of people who have already done it, who've been through the journey. And I reached out to two, one a professor at UJ and one a professor at UNISA, who were also there and would say, no, what you're feeling is, validate what you're feeling and say what you're feeling is correct. Okay, but that must not make you think that you're not good enough. You're still good enough. Continue with this journey you started. He said, what will you look like when you're abandoned? I thought you told your family. You know, somebody told me, one of the professors, he said, you told your family that you're studying. Okay? You told friends that you're studying. You told your employer that you're studying. Okay? And there are people in your network that know that you're studying, who are looking up to you. Okay? And the reason why I saw that was that when I posted on LinkedIn, now I'm hitting 5,000 hits on that. When I posted that I passed the masters.
Yeah.
And I see some people that I don't know. Okay? And they're saying, congratulations, congratulations. There's some might have just seen it, but I started to think that, no, maybe this is what they call when they saw that you are impactful. Yes. There were people who knew that you're studying or who look up to you and say, oh, okay, this person has done this. Yeah. Now I get inquiries. How did you start your master's journey? Okay, I want to study now. I want to do a master's. Okay, why didn't you do an MBA? Why did you do an MCOM? All those questions. You can see that now you see that if I had abandoned these studies, look at so many people who were
so many people
who were inspired by what I do.
And it's just a testament that our dreams are actually a responsibility beyond ourselves. Yes, we might be doing it for self-actualization and everything, but when someone looks at you, they're like, it's possible. And to also give reference to a person who's in your similar situation. Because someone says, I have children, I have family, I'm working, I don't have time. But now they have reference. It can be done.
It can be done.
So, there's no excuse.
There's no excuse. Yes.
Okay?
Yes. Yeah. So we must look at ourselves. You and me, we're privileged to be where we are. And we must look at ourselves as inspiration to a lot of people. Some we don't know. Yeah. Some we don't know. Yes. There's where you work, there's a trainee who reached out to me and said, can I call you? I want to speak to you on LinkedIn. And then started asking me about the master's journey as well, to say, why? Can you tell me about the master's? So I said, it's for SCCA members. She says, so SCCA. Then I said, we've got 2 partnerships now that there's the University of London one, and there's this one. She said, why did you do a master's? Then I started to explain to her why I did a master's. You see somebody, somebody close to both you and me now is thinking, okay, now I've met somebody who I can say, you know what, I've taken the right journey to be.
Yeah, it's really inspirational. And this, like you are saying, resilience. Education is really teaching you discipline. And I think more than anything that we learn, yes, the skill and the technical know-how, it's the fact that you are disciplined enough to start something and finalize and finish it.
Yes.
Because finishing is not something that we learn by just saying. You learn by doing.
Yes.
And I just want to tell you that me starting this one-sided business every day, even when I'm sitting, I'm like, should I close? Should I not? So these questions, so thank you for inspiring me. It's not time to give up. It's not time to give up. So I just want to steal or get a bit of knowledge from the teaching side. You said you were unemployed, life happened, and you find yourself into the teaching space, and you realize then it became a calling. What lessons are coming from that space of life or that season?
I think one thing that I learned from teaching is, I think when you teach, you touch people's lives. Okay. I'm very happy when I go to the finance Indaba or I go to a membership event for SCCA. And then I meet somebody who says, remember you were my lecturer on this subject. I passed that subject, now I finished, now I'm done. There's something that glows inside of you. You feel warm. Yes, in your body you feel warm.
I know, because I'm a teacher myself.
So I've given something to somebody that doesn't involve money, doesn't involve what can I get from them, but I've made a difference. Because I met a member who's just become a member who came with his wife. And it was the wife who was talking and saying, you know, that day when he called you, he wanted to give up the studies. He had written the subject 4 times and he wanted to give up. And you just pointed him to say, can you try this? If it fails, then, abandon your studies. And that's what he went and he did. And then he passed. And it's the wife who's talking. Because that's also the dream of the wife as
Yes.
well. That's also the dream of his father and mother, his parents, his in-laws. All that success permeates across a bigger pool. Then he has also people who look up to him as well in his family. So imagine what impact you have. One person passes the exams, gets their dream of getting the qualification that they wanted. What do? You bless a lot of people.
You do.
Who are looking, yes. Just think of yourself. Just think of, that's why I'm telling you that myself, I never thought that myself getting the master's would have so much impact on so many people. Would have so much impact on so many. I never thought of it until I saw that post is going. And some of them are people like maybe senior people in ACC as well, who say, well done, Kada, what. Then they write you to the inbox and say, you know what, it's good that you work for us and you also got this qualification, because this qualification was created for our members. You've given hope to anybody who wants to study. Now I'm getting people in Botswana, Namibia, ACC members who say, we want to do this masters.
So it's also leading by example.
Yes,
So leaders, we need to lead by example. Because I always say, like, I'm always registered for something.
Yes.
So sometimes it's not me registering because I want to register, but I'm registering so that my trainees can know that we can do this qualification.
Yes. Yeah. So that's what. So teaching, you touch so many lives of so many people. At you, but you touch one life. Yeah. That life goes on. The second thing is also that I learned is that you're not just a lecturer in class. You're a mentor, you're a coach, you're a psychologist. Okay? Because when you meet these students, some are going through, and I don't know, some of us have got a gift to pick up when somebody is not well.
True.
Yes, we say, no, you're not okay. What's happening? So you take them a break and say, what's happening? Then they tell you, well, no. So you say, no, maybe today just take a bit of time off, because you sit in class and you're not getting it. Then maybe let's meet, I'll brief you on what we or the class will be recorded or something like that. You become a pillar of a community.
Of hope.
Of hope, yes, yeah. One of the things that I do, when I was teaching, or when I meet a student or a sister who says, hey, somebody referred me to you to say you can just coach me through the exams. The first thing that I do, I take my certificate, my ACC certificate, I show it to them and I say, touch it. Even in class, they'll say, take the certificate, let it go around. You know why? They must see what they are aiming for.
Yes, it must be visible.
They must visualize. Yes, they must visualize what they said. That certificate, I'm telling you, changes people's perspective, because they're like, I once want my name to be on that certificate and I want to get that certificate. That's what it does. It's a trick that does wonders. Yes.
And it just goes to the fact that the responsibility of education lies to say we need to expose ourselves. We need to go back to our villages, like a person like me who's from Mpumalanga. I need to go there and let the children know that I studied in the same high school and I'm a CA now. Because they're just reading about a CA and they don't understand that there is a reality of being a CA. So you need to make sure that we are visible. We go there, they touch us, they see the possibility.
Yes. I'll tell you a simple story. My daughters are in a school, so I'm also on the SGB of the school as well. So we've got a parents group. So one of the parents saw my LinkedIn post and my graduation. He said, oh, Kada graduated. All this time we didn't know that you were doing a master's. And then the head of school says, you know what? Maybe you should come and talk to students. Okay? When we're having our final year end function. Said, oh, why? She says, hey, Kada, you know what? Sometimes people don't see don't see examples of people who are doing it.
Yes.
Yes, okay. So they see your daughters at school, but maybe they would relate more to see, oh, here's a parent who's been studying, and because that's what we need our students to see somebody that has done it and has been doing it. So that's the sort of thing that you want. I've had now parents there on the group saying, I registered for a course now. I want to do this. I've been meaning to register for a course. I wanted to do this. And then we've got a young priest at church. He said, you know what? Go and thank God. Go and stand in front of the church and say, God. And I said to him, why? He said, there might be somebody in that church who is thinking of registering for a degree, who is in first year, okay, who has given up studying, sometimes who thinks that they are done.
Yes.
So when you go and say, I passed my...
They get hope.
They get hope. Yeah.
There's power in hope.
Yes.
There's definitely power in hope. So maybe just to reflect on the accounting industry and accounting journey and all the changes that are happening. Now we are in the world of AI. So maybe we can just reflect back from where you started to the changes. It would be interesting for us to just get to pick up on that changes that you've seen.
Yeah. I think what I would reflect on is that there was a time when there was no Excel and people were using ledgers to record books of accounts. Okay. And then financial statements were typed by typists and produced. Okay. Think about how auditing was done when you didn't have all these softwares. When I was working in auditing, I remember we went to BP.
Okay.
We had to climb on top of the tanks to go and put a dipstick in the tank. These days there's a digital reading, I bet. Yes. And it was scary. And they had to put you on a harness for you to go and with a person. And that's how manual things were being done. Stock counts were... I remember I did a stock count of a bank. We would do it on the 31st of December. So while people are jollying on 31st December, we would be in a bank, in a vault, counting
stock
cash. Counting the cash that is in stock. Okay, and they would lock us in because it's cash. They'll lock us in, and we had to count because that's cash and bank, or cash and cash equivalents. So that's where the profession has come from. From that, we were doing a lot of things manually. And then there's an experience of, I remember when we joined auditing, laptops were just coming in. So the people who had laptops were very cool. They have laptops. Okay? The people who were using desktops were juniors, seniors were using laptops. Okay. So, but there was this fear now to say, okay, Excel, Lotus 1, 2, 3 in accounting. They were using Lotus 1, 2, 3. Now Excel can produce financials on Excel, can keep records. There was a scare to say, okay, these things are going to make us redundant. But what did we find? We found those instruments to make our work easier. You could carry your work anywhere. You could do your work anywhere. So that was the age of computers. And then came the cell phone as well, which also changed the way we work and the way we do things as well. But now there's artificial intelligence. So at every instance where there's been a big change in, so we talk about the first industrial revolution, second industrial revolution, third industrial revolution, there's been a scare to say our jobs are going to go. I think one thing that human beings, we don't ask ourselves is that, why have we survived all this time and we're still here? So in South Africa, they're saying 4IR is going to make unemployment worse.
Okay.
But if you think about it, is you're saying, wouldn't 4IR make a lot of people employed? Maybe we need to reskill a lot of people, okay, who we were trying to train to do something else. Then we need to reskill them for something else. So now in accounting, we're scared because in 2001, 2002, the World Economic Forum said accounting is one of the professions that was going to no longer be existing. So that was 2002, 2001.
Yeah.
Here we are, you and me are still accountants and we're still doing work. What has changed is how we do work. Okay. I think what we should worry about is AI and ethics.
Okay.
That's what we should worry about. Not that AI is going to take our jobs, but AI and ethics. Yes.
Because then we need an ethical mind, and how we do things, it should be done within the ethical dilemma of human good faith, fairness.
Yes.
Okay.
You're an auditor, isn't it? You're coming to audit my company. With AI, I could create records that are not there. You could come and audit records that have been produced by AI. How do you know that they've been created by AI? Talking about universities, universities are struggling now. AI can write a dissertation for a student.
Yes.
Yes.
The dependency to ChatGPT.
Assignments. Our young children assignments. Yes, yeah. So AI can also do an audit as well.
Can.
Yes. Can do an audit as well. But can it go and talk to a client?
Okay.
Can AI go and request information or have it where you see that there's something that you're not getting understanding? It can't. It still needs you to go and talk to a client. It still needs you. And professional skepticism, intelligence, vision, emotional intelligence, those are human traits. You can't give them to a machine. Yeah. You can't give them.
So in terms of reskilling ourselves and being, obviously managing that fear that we have, what do you think where should we start?
Okay, the person who was using a double entry journal to record financial records learned how to use Excel. Okay. Then learned how to use a computer package and retired. They never lost their job.
Okay. So it's to learn the next thing.
Yes. What is the next thing? What is the next thing? Data analytics is going to become very important. Okay. So as accountants, we need to reskill ourselves there. Auditing is going to become also about data and data analytics as well. Because those are transactions, isn't it? Yeah, a lot of transactions. So we need to reskill ourselves in that area as well. I think the second thing that I know we're struggling with is professional skepticism. Yeah. Okay. So I am a fan of history. So sometimes I read things like maybe the history of the KGB. Okay. Or intelligence agencies. You know why intelligence agencies are very important in professional skepticism? Those guys, they question everything. They're always suspicious that there's something, isn't it? That's how their radar works. It's always the risk management. There's something happening, even if it's not happening. We need auditors like that. We say they're saying auditors were lacking professional skepticism. A client tells us something, we just go and we do. We need that. We need that curiosity. The Russians say question everything. Yes, you must ask, why is this like this? Why is this like this? And there was a study that they were saying that there's somewhere an adult, they were saying even the age of 12, 13, we lose the curiosity of a child. Yeah. And there's just something that we never get back because curiosity is what makes you question things, yeah.
And it then expands your imagination. Yes. And in your imagination, then you can create something. Yes. And I think we sometimes dependency on the AI and these quick fix gadgets that we have, we lose that thing. Yes. Because then we become lazy.
Let me ask you a question. Did the AI produce this?
No.
It's a human being.
This was packaged by me.
Yes. Are you getting a robot soon to package it?
No, robot is packaging this product. And it takes time.
Yes. But you didn't know anything about these products, isn't it?
You learn.
Yeah, it's because of curiosity. Yes, that curiosity like a child.
But then just to maybe get what inspires curiosity in a human being, or maybe for yourself, like what has been that source of inspiration for curiosity. Maybe we need to learn that skill so that when we see, because sometimes when I'm in a job, then I can see that I can do this job with my eyes closed. Then I know that it's time to say my goodbyes. Or when now I'm used to something, then it's like my next thing that I need to do. I'm too relaxed. Or now I'm wandering on my phone, I'm being lazy, like you think. So that would be my form of inspiring myself to reimagine and restart again. For yourself, what has been that tool or tools?
I think my parents have played a very key role in me becoming curious. Okay. I was not a naughty child, but I was a curious child.
Okay.
Because there's in that naughtiness also, where a child breaks this, opens this, that's curiosity that you must encourage. It's just that as a parent, you tend to say, hey, you know what? Why do you buy a kid a car, a boy, and then he breaks it apart? He wants to see inside. You must encourage that because that's where curiosity comes from. Okay? So, because I would ask a lot of questions to my father, my father would get irritated. He would either buy me a book or tell me where to get that information, or he would tell me, okay? And my sister was with in West, the one who comes after me, because and I'm not surprised she's a lawyer. Yeah. And I was always asking questions. How does this work? How does this work? How does this work? How does this work? If he had said, hey, you asked too many questions, can you stop this? I would not have. So I would not have become curious. But he did encourage the curiosity to say, oh, okay, if he's asking about something, that means he's curious. And sometimes he would let me go on my own path to find that information itself and say, oh, he's going to find it somewhere. So if you want our children to become curious, let's not kill that curiosity at a young age. Let's leave them to be curious and to ask, well, how does this work? To open things and to do things, because that's where it comes from.
And maybe it's about time we also look at our curriculum, because it's so structured, and sometimes structured elements can kill curiosity because you are here. Yes. We expect you to be here. So we really need to look at that.
Yes, yeah.
And you touched, when we started, you touched on your father having inspired or having an influence of you going to study. And then as the firstborn son, I just want to get that impact of a family, because we live in a society where we no longer really taking serious the family structure and the impact that it has. I feel like we're becoming more individualistic than community. And there are sayings like it takes a village to raise a child.
Yes.
But it feels like we're just staying, me and my children. We stay in a flat, just the two of us.
Yes.
And we're becoming more and more individualistic, not really more community-based. So what is the impact of family in your life or in your upbringing?
I think I'm thankful that I was by God's design, I was the only boy.
Yeah.
Okay, and I was the firstborn.
Okay.
And if you look around you, I mean, just think about firstborns in most families. A lot of them struggle being firstborns.
Yeah.
Because number one, you are the child that your parents learn parenting from. So they experiment everything on you. Because parenting, you and me know, there's no manual, there's no book. So we learn by doing, as you said. We learn by doing. So you become that first thing. I think one thing that my parents did right is to instill in me that if you're a firstborn, that responsibility that you have on your head must not crush you to a point that, because if you crash, sometimes it affects everybody else who comes after you. Okay?
Definitely.
Yes. And also, because my father is the firstborn in his family, I was also the oldest grandson or grandchild as well. Okay? On both sides of the family as well. So because my mother is also a firstborn. So all those things, they must support you to say it's a huge responsibility.
It brings responsibility.
But they must also support you with that journey as well. I mean, I've I've had friends who I know are firstborns, and some of them have struggled a lot being a firstborn. It's not easy because you don't have anybody to look up to. Okay? If you're a thirdborn or a secondborn, there's always somebody, there's always a punching bag sort of, or somebody who goes and breaks the trail for you and comes back and says, yeah. So we must be careful. Sometimes we focus a lot on lastborns. We must focus also on the firstborn.
Yeah, help them in the journey.
Yeah, with the journey. Then it makes them easier for them to support the others as well. But the second thing that we must now start to encourage as well, you've talked about something about you talked about family structure. These days, I think we can't avoid it, that people are separate from each other and stuff like that. But how can you create that unit to become so much supportive to the children that you have?
To be a family.
To be a family.
Yeah.
So the reason why you and me are recording this is that our children are online. They're going to watch this episode and they're going to see another side of us that they don't know.
True.
Yeah, because they see us as a father. They've never seen us as a... I've always shared with you that my kids Google me.
Yeah.
I hope you must also encourage them to Google you as well.
Yes.
You are speaking at SAIC, isn't it?
Yes.
If those things are available online, they must see you in a different light.
Set up.
Yes. So myself, one of the things that did me very well is I was able to see my father in different settings. So I didn't see him as a father. One time he was invited to speak at the Institute of Internal Auditors Conference, and he spoke about corruption in the private sector. I was able to see him as a speaker. Okay? And he was heading at the time an corruption drive that was being done by the donors in the private sector. So because we would meet in circles, because he was also talking to a lot of our circles as well, I saw him differently from that.
And that family inspiration becomes so critical and personal.
Yes, yes. And I didn't see him just like my father, but I saw this man is a public figure, and there's a lot of people who admire him as well, and what he does as well. Okay? Even there are people these days who come to me and say, oh, you know what, your father taught me work, your father did this. So it's the same with you. Yes. You must encourage your children to know you in spaces that they don't normally know you. Yes. Have you ever taken your kids to show them what you do in the business? Okay.
True.
Yes. Something like that. It changes their perspective, because now they see you as a business person.
And you interact as a business person.
They don't see you as a mother who is always telling them not to touch this, not to do this at all.
Who's always shouting.
I was always shouting. Yeah, so you must get your children to see you. To be honest with you, my kids, when they tell me that we saw you online and we're watching you, they tell me that we see a different side of you.
That they won't know.
Yes, that we never knew. Yes.
So it becomes a responsibility.
Yes.
So since we are on numbers don't lie, what is that number, or any story about numbers that you can tell us with as we are wrapping up to conclude? Okay.
There's a story that I'll tell you. So when we started the masters, they said we should do a quote for the first class that we had.
Okay.
It was like, get to know you. So put one slide about yourself, the topic that you are, and then put a quote. And one of the quotes that I picked up was that everything starts and ends with a number. Yeah. Today you told me that this session is going to start at what?
At 2.
At 2, yes. And then you said you are going to do it for 1 hour.
Yes.
That's a number. And then the way it's going to end is also what?
A number.
A number. When I was driving home, I was thinking, okay, when do I leave? So that I arrive at a number. Okay, I was driving, looking at, let me not drive too fast, because that's a number. Yes. Okay. So everything starts and ends with a number. You're born, you're dead. The day you're born is a number. The day you die is a number. So numbers are important in everything that we do. That's why accounting is very important. It's a profession that you and me and everybody listening to this podcast must not take for granted.
True.
This profession still needs to go on. We still need people who can account. because accounting is about accountability.
And life is about numbers.
Numbers, yes.
If you were to say that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kada, for joining us. We are very excited that this will be very impactful to someone's life. Myself, I'm inspired as I'm sitting here, and we appreciate your time. But maybe just to give a word to Roderick, Emerald, and Ruby,
yeah.
What would you say? What is that one advice as you're giving to the emeralds and the rubies of the world?
I think what I would advise to them is that they should be who they are, and not get lost in humanity.
Okay.
Yeah, they must just be individuals and just be who they are.
And be authentic self.
Yeah, authentic self, that's what they say. That's what I would advise them. Because in this world, it's very easy to get lost. Yeah.
And get changed. And sometimes we get changed by the need of money, by the need of being seen.
Yes.
So you need to be very careful and protective of that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And maybe that being said, thank you for tuning in. Numbers indeed don't lie. Yes. And Lord, help us number our days, for we need understanding to lead our lives. So thank you, and we'll see you in the next episode.